Hey, Mike, do you know there's one huge asset that can help you hit the ball a lot further? And guess what? It's right under your feet.
The ground.
The ground. So today in episode 341 of the Golf Podcast, we're going to talk about how you can use the ground more effectively to add some power to your golf swing. We all want to add power to our golf swing. And guys, if you're new to the show, Mike and I, we are not professionals. We are not instructors. We're just two guys who love learning the game and sharing what we learned in the hope that it will help you guys better your golf games as well. So we've done some work on this. There's a couple of key takeaways and key points that we think can help you start using the ground a whole lot better and then getting a little bit more power. And we see at the top level, man, Mike, the pros just do this so well.
Oh yeah, they definitely do.
They just
it's incredible to watch.
Yeah, it's next level. Mm-hmm. It's like way above and beyond even what we're going to talk about here, but we will dip into it a little bit in case you want to try some of what the pros do. But at any level, if you're swinging a golf club, you can use the ground better in order to get more power out of your swing. So we're going to talk about that in a second. But first, Mike, let's jump right into this week's Twitter tap-in. By the way, guys, if you're not already following us on Twitter, make sure you follow us at Golficity so you can be involved in each week's Twitter tap-in segment. And this one's a fun one. Anytime, Mike, we get talking about equipment, it really gets people talking. But actually, this is not just equipment. So what we asked this week's Twitter tap-in is, if someone handed you $500 to spend on golf equipment right now, wouldn't that be nice?
That'd be really nice.
That'd be nice. What is the very first thing you would spend it on? Tough one.
It's a tough one.
So we like to kick it off with our own answers. So first, Mike, what would you say?
You know, you and I chatted a little bit about this. I think we're both in agreement that lessons would be it.
Yeah.
You know, you can you go anywhere with that money. Golf equipment, it says. I know it says golf equipment. Right? Is that so?
Yeah,
so
maybe we're disqualifying ourselves because a lot of people you'll see in a second said the same thing, lessons. So if we had to just say just equipment, I think in a similar vein, there are a handful of really great training aids out there.
Yep.
That I would like. One I've been really big on is the Plane Mate by Tour Striker. I think that comes in around $140 or something like that. So that one is something that would be on my list. I've been using it a little bit kind of each day just because I like the physical feedback that it gives me. I've been posting some on my Instagram account and some of you have been DMing me because you're on that right on the cusp of pulling the trigger and asking if it works. Well, I'll tell you what, it definitely has been working for me. Another thing of equipment, which you know we're big fans of, is the Shot Scope.
Yes.
Which comes in around $200. Nice. I still got some cash in my pocket even after that.
Yeah, you're doing
But I like the Shot Scope
right.
because the shot, you know, data tracking, which really has helped our game. But yeah, those are big ones.
You're at $350 now. You want to just cap it off?
$1, Bob?
Yeah,
I'll put the rest will go towards green fees.
There you go.
No, I think if I wanted to go pure equipment, if I didn't already have a putter I was very happy with, the money would go towards a putter because I think that money is incredibly well spent. Even if you're spending $500 a pop on a putter, it's something that's going to last you so many seasons. A well-fit putter is very hard to beat.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And I think another thing that's overlooked are these launch monitors because if you don't have an OptiShot Vision like we do, how are you going to know your numbers? Right. How are you going to know your attack angle, your ball speed, your club head speed? And a lot of us want to know this stuff, but the only way to do it is to go see someone and get that. You might be spending, $200 an hour, $100 an hour, which is probably great. You'll probably learn a lot about your game. But if you wanted to just go to a range with something, you could just fire it up. Like we use the Rapsodo. That's a $500 item.
Yeah.
It's about $400 actually. And you know what? You get everything you need right there.
Yeah.
So it's a great aid.
The Rapsodo is terrific. There's also, I think, the Flight Scope Mevo. There's a handful of them all out there, and they're all right in that same price range, that $500. And look, again, it's taking something out of the PGA Tour Pros playbook. You see those guys out there, when they're doing their range sessions, they've got a TrackMan behind us. Now, we don't have somebody handing us $20,000. We've got $500 to work with. So you got to work within your budget. But I think something like that, as you said, kind of gives you that immediate feedback of yardages and things like that. Is great. So let's look at some of these other ones that some of you out there had said. Blake Higgins says custom Voki wedges, terrific spend.
That's a terrific spend.
I put that almost right after putter as far as if I only have X amount to spend on equipment, what do I prioritize? The wedges are your scoring clubs.
Yeah.
It just is. And for $500, you can get yourself a nice set of fit wedges for sure.
We got Mike Ryder. I like hearing this. He says FootJoy closed due to the weight loss. Congrats, man.
Yeah,
that's good.
Congratulations.
That's a good feeling.
That's terrific. Will Hunt says, my 3-wood, he said, my Callaway XR16 shaft broke in the hosel, so he's looking for a replacement. Oh, that's the worst.
Yeah.
That's the worst when that happens.
Yes,
but look, hey, if one thing you might be able to do, Will, is just swap out that shaft. If the head is performing well for you, and depending on where, he says it's in the hosel, it might have gotten into the head there, but there is that little connection there. I've seen it break there before, and what you can sometimes do is just spend the money on the replacement shaft instead.
Yeah, Michael Johnson, a driver. I mean, I could see this being a common theme because that 500's right in that sweet spot. A driver, he's got an old driver with a small club head. It's not forgiving for someone who has a large handicap. LOL. Yeah, that might help you to get a more forgiving driver. Yeah. What else we got here? These are great.
Yeah, speaking of Golficity. That sounds like Golficity.
Yeah.
It says new shafts for my woods, some that fit my swing change. But I think that is a terrific point to bring up, because oftentimes we think we've got to replace the whole club because we've made some sort of change. We've learned in our fitting process how much of a difference the shafts make. So sometimes, and again, another benefit of going to a fitting, you can go to a fitter and say, listen, I for my budget, I want to keep the heads I'm working with, but I want to just replace the shafts, and you can do so much of a change there. So that's a great point.
Golf proficiency with a German efficiency. That's a tagline.
There you go. There you go. A lot of people said lessons. Yeah. You know, Jason says lessons, pay for proper instruction, practice for free, and improve my game in the process. So that's all good stuff. And putters. I see putters often. Coach Khan says a brand new push cart and some waterproof shoes.
Like it.
Yeah, that's always a good spend.
I like Al Cervic says a 1-year membership at a Vitense Golfland range. He says he hashtags range balls.
Sorry, guys. We had a quick technical glitch there. It happens. But anyway, I think, Mike, what we're talking about here is the main theme seems to be, and it's smart. You got to. Golf can be an expensive sport. You have to spend your money smart. So when I see things like wedges, putters, lessons, it's really understanding prioritizing certain things. We know that the flat stick is where most of your strokes are out there on the course.
Yep.
You know,
yeah, for sure.
Sometimes it's, like I said, it's not the sexiest purchase. It's not like getting the newest driver sometimes, but the putter is something that can last you for years and it can save you some strokes. And then similarly, the wedges. Wedges are scoring clubs. It's really important. And we've always been big proponents of investing in lessons. Again, not knowing that it's not equipment, but there's a lot of things. As golfers, we are so fortunate that nowadays there are so many resources for us, from books to videos and everything else to help with our game. But it's such an individualized sport. I say don't shy away from all that instruction, but every once in a while, a check-in with a coach who can just kind of like look at your exact issue and steer you, then you can even make your own research more effective, because you can dive into those drills and things like that relate to your specific issue. So I think that's always important.
Yeah, it is. And I just recall where we were right before our glitch. I was giving Al Cervic a shout out. He said a 1-year membership to Vitense Golfland, and he just put hashtag range balls. So he would just dedicate his 500 to just taking a whole bunch of swings for as long as he can at Vitense Golfland in Madison, Wisconsin. Shout out to Vitense.
There you go. There you go. Hey, you know, it's another idea too, is for all of us who don't have the benefit of playing year round, spending that $500 and getting some sort of either package of simulator time, or sometimes like some sort of simulator, maybe they have a week, a winter membership. Because a big question that we get, a lot of people say, how do you keep your swing going through the winter? And a way to do that is just get indoors in a facility where you can keep swinging.
Right.
And I think that would be money well spent as well. So good stuff. All right, let's do a word from our sponsors. I want to just talk really quick about what's going on this week, and then I want to dive into this week's instructional segment.
Yeah, let's do it.
So, guys, first and foremost, big thanks to Titleist and the team at Voki Wedges. Mike, the new SM8 wedges, they performed, they transformed our game. I am literally around the greens so much better in these last couple of weeks than I have been.
Get that confidence.
Yeah, it's because knowing that I've got the control is what's giving me the confidence. And I'm able to control those short chips. I'm able to get the ball to stop and spin. I'm able to get after my target a little bit more, knowing that it's going to stop. They feel so great through that turf impact. There's so many different bounce and grind options, especially when you pair that with a good fitting. I can't even tell you guys the level of confidence you're going to get. So we were fit not too long ago. You guys check out a Titleist Thursday. Go to Titleist website, look under fittings. There's a Titleist Thursday. It's a great way to get a free fitting. They've got the Voki SM8s there, so you can give them a try and see if you can find a location near you. I know they were a little limited this year with COVID, but they're still doing a great job with this contactless fittings, and they are having them out there. So Bob Voki and his team, they're always working on making a better product. With the SM8s, we had the pleasure of talking to Bob earlier this year, and he said what a big thing that went into the designs this year was feedback from the tour players and feedback from the amateur everyday golfers who are out there playing them. And they used that information to make it better and make these adjustments. So you got to swing them to believe them. Visit Voki.com to go through an online fitting tool. Check it out. It'll give you an idea of where you need to be. But if you guys can get that real fitting, it is the best way to go for sure.
All right, Frank, what do we got this week?
So this week, you know what we got. There it is. Yeah. You know, the U.S. Open. And again, another one of those things that just so fortunate to have it happen, because when everything started to cancel off the schedule, we just didn't know. And I think the USGA and everyone worked really hard to make sure that it could happen and still happen at Winged Foot, which as far as venues go, this is going to be really tough to beat, Mike.
It looks beautiful, pure, pristine, difficult. Everything a U.S. Open venue needs to have, and it's got it.
Difficult is the word. I mean, I think what you want out of a major, you want a course and a venue that is going to challenge all aspects. I want to see a complete golfer win. Now, not to say that anyone on the PGA Tour is not a complete golfer, but you know, there are certain events that are set up for the long ball guys and different types of players that excel in different areas. Here, yes, there are some booming par fours and things like that, but there is such a premium on accuracy. We've seen some videos coming out these last couple of days, and by now, by the time this is out, you guys have seen it and seen it live. The rough is punishing, the fairways are tight, and then when you get to those Tillinghast greens, just good luck.
Yeah, good luck indeed.
Yeah. So you really have to be able to fire on all cylinders to play well today.
You know, some of those tournaments where guys can have, bad approach days but be hot on the greens and still win a tournament. We've seen Tiger do that many times in his career. I feel like this is a place, these events are the type where everything, like you said, it's got to be clicking.
Yes.
A tee to green. We saw, what was it, 2 years ago, Shinnecock just beat everyone up, and there was a whole debate like, this is way too hard for us.
Yeah.
But I love seeing it as a fan because it's the closest they'll get to being like us out there.
Exactly. Hard. I can't complain with hard. Unfair, is a different thing. Sometimes if you get it where...
But is there such thing as unfair? And
you're
playing for this much money on this level?
I would say if the greens aren't quite rolling true, like if it becomes a point where it's impossible to hold a green.
True.
If it's so fast that you tap it and it goes by the cup, and if you don't hit the cup it just keeps gone. Mm-hmm. That to me, I mean, still even within that, like they all have to play the same course. So in a way, it's almost not unfair.
Right.
You just have to learn to keep it below the hole and stuff like that. But I think that the course needs to be very difficult without being so overtly punishing that if you don't make the shot, there's no way to recover. But I think that's what we're going to see out of Winged Foot, is that it's going to be a course that's set up to make it so the best players in the world have to play the absolute best to beat it.
Yeah.
And I think you're going to see few scores in the negative numbers.
Yeah, we were saying on Twig, +5 probably cut line is our guess, and maybe a -3 win.
Yeah, I think anywhere that -2, -3, there's going to be a handful of guys under par. And
plus, it's getting windy up here in the Northeast now.
It is.
Cold.
It's getting a little bit crisp. It's feeling
These
like
guys
fall.
do play a little different under a crisp. They're not used to it. They're sun chasers,
You bet. And I tell you what, it's going to be one of those things that can be really, truly anyone's game too. There's so many great players in the field, from Dustin Johnson, who's just coming in super hot off his FedEx Cup win, to John Rahm, who was there right there on his heels with that. And these other guys who were in the mix, even the FedEx Cup could have been anyone's game. Rory could have got a little bit hotter, could have been his. Justin Thomas was right there in the mix. Xander Schauffele, so many things. And then you see even guys like Tiger Woods, who, if that putter can get back on, he can be right in there in the mix. And we've seen a lot of clips of him, dabbling, getting there to Winged Foot to practice. That's the premium for him. And of course, Phil's going to want redemption.
Phil wants that.
There are just so
He
many
wants the Grand
stories.
Slam.
So many great stories. All right. That's going to be fun. I hope everybody enjoys it. It's today, the day this comes out, it's Sunday. So I know you guys are in front of that television enjoying it. But Mike, let's do another word from our sponsors, and then I want to dive into this instructional segment.
Yeah, so this episode is brought to you by ShotScope, the all-in-one GPS and stat tracking watch that is so hot. It is sold out until October. Frank, cue the Zoolander clip. That ShotScope. So hot right now.
So hot right now.
Right, it is.
Yeah.
Pop quiz, Frank. Answer yes or no. Do you want laser-like accuracy to your targets?
Of course.
Do you want to improve your golf game?
Always.
And do you want all of that in the easiest way possible?
You bet.
Well, guys, listen, if you've answered yes to any of these questions, it is time to pick up a ShotScope V3. Order it now. Sold out. Don't let it scare you. The next month they'll be available.
The corner.
Yeah, next month.
October's right around the corner.
So October, they're ready. They'll be in your mailbox then. So visit shotscope.com/Golficity. And lastly, big thanks to FootJoy for always keeping us looking sharp.
There it
Love
is.
these, right? They're great. These vests, these U.S. Open vests. Feeling loose, keeping us warm, and of course, keeping us dry. Guys, I want to talk about the new Hydro Tour jacket from FootJoy. Mm-hmm. It's storm proven. It's built to protect you from the most extreme conditions using a 3-panel construction to reduce bulk, because we don't want to be bulky out there. Mm-hmm. You want to be able to swing, right? Because you got to improve mobility, and you want to maximize the waterproof protection. Not to mention, they're so damn stylish, 100% waterproof, and you could fold it down to nothing and stuff it in your golf bag.
Yeah, you can't go out there with the Gordon's Fisherman
you
yellow.
Can't. No, that
you'd be dry, but you're not swinging a golf
and
club.
the one George Costanza wore, the Gore-Tex.
Yes,
you can't swing
you
a club
can't
in
swing
that thing.
that.
So, guys, gear up. The fall is around the corner. Check out the Hydro Tour rain jacket. Learn more at footjoy.com.
That's just it. You said the word. I mean, fall. That's when we start to get that dicey weather, especially here in the Northeast. It's great.
It was 50 when I pulled the garbage cans up this morning.
50.
It was like 93 last week. So I don't know.
You get that rain that comes through now, and it's cold. So 100%. All right, let's talk about this week's instructional topic. And like we said before, a lot of what we're going to talk about here is stuff that not only have we worked on and learned, but we are always learning. Golf is a game that cannot be mastered. You're always working on getting better and learning more. And that's a big part of that. So what we always encourage you guys to do is if you've got your own tips that go along with what we're talking about today, make sure you let us know. Drop them in the comments. Drop them in the Facebook group. If you guys are not already part of our Facebook group, we've got a great group of about 3,000 people in there right now, just continuing the conversation between episodes of what we're working on and just kind of celebrating those small wins. So it's a really fun thing to dive into. But again, what we said earlier, every golfer, no matter who you are, can take advantage of and wants to get a couple more yards. And what you can really do is just by honing a few small things, really start to dial that in. And one of those things that you might be overlooking is the opportunity to gain more power from the ground.
Yeah.
Right. So when we think power, we think like Bryson DeChambeau, like lifting weights, and we think swing speed and like fitness, and we think, flexibility. Yes, all those things are in there. But also golf, like anything on earth, is still constrained by basic physics, right? Mm-hmm. And your connection to the earth is the ground. A good way to think about this, Mike, try to take a full cut sometime standing on a slip and slide that's covered with oil. Right?
No thanks.
No, thank you.
Disaster.
Think about it. Even if you visualize yourself in that place, how slow you would have to swing in order to not fall, because you're not able to use that ground. There's no pushing. There's nothing. You're just a slip. But it also does show you how much you truly do push off the ground, because when you swing, you can visualize that. You don't have to actually do this. Guys, don't do this, because we're not liable when you break your face. Right. But you can visualize that your feet are going to slip right out from under you as soon as you put that tension. So that, if anything, should be the proof that you need to understand how much the ground works in your swing. So what it really does is gives your swing a little bit of a push. And I think this is something that relates to both of us well. And this is a way that kind of gives you the idea of what's happening here, is if we relate this to baseball, Mike.
Sure.
All right.
Our childhood.
Both of us played baseball extensively growing up, played a lot more than we even played golf. And golf we've got into a little bit more later in life. But anybody who's played baseball or has been to a baseball game has either done or seen this. And when your batter steps into a box, you see him taking his trail foot and just kind of digging it in a bit, right? And the reason he's doing that, it's not to look cool. It's because he's trying to give himself a nice spot of where he can push off of. A nice firm hold on that back foot that he could push off. So you see the even both feet just kind of digging in and getting those cleats into the dirt. And what that's doing is because, again, a swing, you might think some of these guys in the MLB, jacked. Yeah, they're strong, a lot of power, but they're using that ground to push off of and rotate through the ball. So as golfers, we can learn that type of thing. Now, there's one little problem with this whole analogy is that as golfers, we can't go out there and dig our
I'm already a groundskeeper's nightmare.
Yeah. You're not gonna get away with that very long, digging in out there to do that. But I mean, in a way, we kind of do it in the bunker. We shuffle our feet and we dig in a little bit to give ourselves a little bit more. But it's something that can at least give you the understanding, the idea of why it works,
right,
and how it works. So, what do we do? Knowing that, how do we utilize the ground better? And what it should become as no surprise is that it really starts with building a really good, stance, a good solid stance. And we've talked about this before, Mike. We've talked about some of the importance and how much of the success of a swing ultimately starts with a good setup.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
I'm learning this more and more as we go, that so much of whether that ball goes where I want it to be is contingent upon the setup and the first moments of the takeaway.
Right.
We all think about impact and the swinging and down and through, but you can't do any of that until you're prepared with a good setup. So what are the keys to a good setup? And these are only a few. As I said, there's going to be a lot more. And if you've got some of your own, drop them in the comments. But first is sufficient width.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of newer golfers are just not taking a wide enough stance. Take a look at on a driver swing, a guy like Rory, how nice and wide that stance is, because a wider stance is going to be stable. Now, don't go too wide. There's a point of diminishing returns. Not only are you going to look ridiculous, but you're going to start to lose your ability to rotate. But you want to be able to, especially the bigger the swing, the bigger the driver swings, the 3-woods, the long irons. A little bit of a wider stance is going to give you a more solid base. Now, when we sometimes take pitch shots, we bring our stance way in because we don't need as much power, but we need to just be able to kind of like turn through it. It's a little more of a feel thing. But when you need a little bit more strength, you want to be able to widen that stance a bit.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I've been trying to widen stances, for that reason. It's tough to get it. It is a unique feeling because I feel like when you push the legs out a little bit wider, it's harder for me to rotate, but I'm working on it. Yeah, I am working on it.
It's like I said, it is something, and especially there's going to be an element of your own flexibility in there.
Yep.
All those, which is why, yes, I'm not discounting those things. Those are important for power. Working on your flexibility. Golf is a game that really requires a very well-rounded approach to both mind and body, and that's why we love it. Because it's such a struggle. Mm-hmm. Another thing is an adequate knee flex. Here too is something that you'll see very often in real super beginner golfers. Sometimes people who aren't even golfers, you just give them a golf club to swing and just see how they naturally do it. A lot will stand way too upright, almost where knees locked. And that in that way, you are just not going to be able to use the ground. And one kind of tip that or a feel thing that I came across somewhere was, if you were to stand in place and try to jump as high as you can while at the same time turning 90 degrees, right? Try doing that 2 ways. Try doing it first with your legs completely straight and your knees locked. You'll know you can't. You can't jump.
Yeah, you can't.
Now try doing it with some knee flex. Mm-hmm. The knee flex is what allows you to spring off and do that. And the turn, I'm saying, is because it simulates the rotation in the golf swing. So that'll prove to you right there how much knee flex really makes a difference in this ability to use the ground. So you have to have your knees flexed slightly through that swing. It's going to help you not only use the ground and that push off, but it's also going to help you stay balanced.
Yeah.
Which we learned, Kevin Sprecher, balance and rotation.
Right.
You can't do it without balance. If you're off balance, it goes back to my slip and slide thing, you're going to fall down. So the knee flex will give you that balance. It'll also give you that ability to push off.
Makes sense.
But again, everything within moderation. It's a moderate knee flex. You don't want to be bending down so much.
Right.
You're getting in there lowering your strike zone. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So that's important. And then another one would be just to stick out your backside. There's no dignified way to say it, but you need to to stick your butt out a little bit. And yes, if you want to get hyper technical, you can see some great instructors will talk about that pelvic tilt and stuff like that. That's effectively what you're doing. But by just kind of flattening that lower part of your back, it's going to make it easier to turn back and through without losing balance.
You know, I'm laughing at this one because my 7-year-old, her golf coach, when she first started with her, and she first put the club in her hand, she's like, all right, I'm going to take you through this. And you're never going to forget this. And it was so powerful that I say it all the time. And it's feet together, step, tushy out, back straight, L for light, accelerate.
Okay.
That's the whole golf swing. L for light is the swing, L.
Yeah.
And then accelerate. And then now she gets up to a ball with her feet together. And it just keeps her calm. Step, feet apart.
Yes.
Back is straight. Put your butt out. Bring it back and swing it through. It's the elements of the
golf swing made simple.
Made simple right there.
Wow.
So we just kind of covered it here a little bit.
Hey, and you know what? It brings up another point that I should have mentioned earlier, going back to our stance. I like putting that into the pre-shot routine somewhere where you start, and I do this often. And our camera just died, but you guys can still hear me. This is just an episode of technical difficulties, guys.
It happens to the best of us.
It is an episode. Now they've just got one shot of me face on here. Let's see if we can get you guys back going again. For those of you who are watching us on YouTube, we'll be back here in a second. Here, Mike is slowly coming back.
Do you want me to tell a long, boring,
we'll put it on you
story?
Until we get the rest of these cameras.
My childhood trips to Michigan.
Oh my God. But what I was saying, which is so important, and especially if you're listening to us and not just stuck on Mike's face here, we're slowly back. We're back.
Great.
Is that I put it in my pre-shot routine to do that start with your feet forward, and then I'll start by, I'm a righty. I will step my left leg out to where I want that position to the ball, and then adjust my right foot to it. It's a way to stay far more consistent than just going up there and just taking your stand. It gives you a reference point. Mm-hmm. So I like to start together and put that out. So we've talked about this before in our pre-shot routine, some of our pre-shot routine talks, but it's a good point you bring up. Put that in there. That'll help you with that consistent stance.
Right.
Because golf is a game of inconsistencies, and we hate being inconsistent. But why are we inconsistent? Well, we often set ourselves up to be inconsistent because we don't start from a consistent starting point. We may start with a different width stance for the same club different times. This is where you want to be able to change that and give yourself more consistency.
Right.
So that said, how do we make the ground start to work a little bit more for us? And one way you could do this, you get that extra power boost. And it's a move that's used a lot with driver. And that's where if you're looking to see the most visible effects of it, watch the PGA Tour with driver. But on every swing, they're using the ground effectively. But as you start that swing down towards impact, you want to push off that ground and come up a little bit, right? Mm-hmm. Now, there's different limits of this. You watch Justin Thomas. This guy is on his toes at impact. That's how much he's pushed up through there. He has taken all that swing speed he's generating and all that rotation and that pushing off the ground to the point where he's actually leaving the ground.
That's what I got to learn how to do.
I mean, I'm looking at that photo right now.
He's on his tippy toes.
You got him and Bubba Watson leaves the ground. He's not even touching the ground. That's how much they do it. But again, it doesn't have to be that level for every golfer. A great analogy that I heard, or a great visualization of how using the ground for pushing off. And this one is a guy I've been following very closely on YouTube, Clay Ballard, a great instructor. He said the other day, when you're thinking of the golf swing and the rotation, think about you're standing on top of a big jam jar and you're trying to both unscrew and then rescrew in that top just using your legs. That's that force we're talking about. So now obviously the ground is not going to move like the jam jar would, but it's that same feeling that you're now using that ground, you're torquing, you're creating all that torque in the legs with the ground and then pushing it back the other way. So it's almost like you're trying to spin the earth beneath you. But obviously you ain't moving the earth. Right? I don't care how quickly you call 811. You're not moving that earth. Right. So but that's that feeling. Now, taking it to the nth degree is where you start to come up, and that's what we talk about with Justin Thomas. But now understand this, guys. There's a trade-off here. Sure, you can get more by really coming up like JT does, But these guys who've been playing golf for their whole lives, who are incredibly talented and skilled in their ability to control that ball, they are hitting on the same spot on the face every time. Those things are going to be dramatically reduced the more you do this.
Right.
So you got to find that right amount for you, that right amount of push that you're getting more power, but not also dramatically losing your accuracy.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah. I think it was Tiger Woods who, he said his father taught him to always swing as hard as you can, so long as you can still make sure you hit the center of the club face.
Right.
So as soon as you start to feel like you're not making that contact that you want and your consistency, like we said, is going down, you're doing too much of it. But as you get used to it, you can do a little bit more and more. So it can be hard to make that clean contact. It does a bit of timing, but just implementing even a little bit, and even just bringing your awareness to the ground and how your body is using the force of the ground can help you get more out of it. So that's important. Last point, you got to keep turning.
Oh yeah.
How many times have we heard Kevin Sprecher, because he's the guy we work with often with our instruction, as he says, you stopped turning, you stopped rotating. And I'm like, Kevin, I show him my slow motion. I'm like, what did I do wrong in this swing? He goes, you stopped rotating. It's so important. If you focus too much on pushing off the ground, you may focus on that right to that point of impact, but fail to continue that turn. And then when you're going to happen is you're going to waste some of that power, and you're not going to hit that sweet spot. You got to commit to the rotation, rotate all the way through. That's why we follow through in golf. We don't follow through just because it looks good on camera. We follow through because it's very important to the swing. You've got to be able to continue that rotation. Don't stop your body rotating. And that's also a timing thing. When you do stop and then the arms get out ahead of them, then all of a sudden you got another whole issue.
Yeah.
So just make sure, if you do commit to it and you commit to that turn that you're going to push off that ground, keep it going. Go all the way through the follow through and really commit to it.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah. So those are some keys to it. Again, just like any topic in golf, it's something that you could talk about for hours. You could really dive into this granularly. But I think, if nothing else, if you bring your awareness to it, you understand how those forces work between body and ground, you're going to start gaining a better understanding of the swing and where that power comes from. So start experimenting with it and see how it goes. And then you can see how far you want to dial it up.
Yeah. I mean, one of the things I'm going to work on is not only with the help of this, is, as you know, I'm going to try to hit more up on my drives.
Yes.
And hopefully I can kind of put both of those together, using the ground and trying to figure out how to do that. I mean, it's going to be a process, but I'm dying to do that. I'm dying to put it to a test and see if I can really get that much more power and distance.
Yeah.
Oh, we'll see.
Well, it's so funny. I see some of the comments, and someone commented, be like, Mike, you could hit it 30 yards further. All you have to do is swing a little bit more, inside out and hit up on the ball. And it's just like, that's easier said than done.
Yeah, I know.
I think one time Gavin from ShotScope jumped in, and he's like, yeah, it's easier said than done though. It seems so simple, like hit up on it more.
Right.
But there's a lot that goes into doing that. And
right.
Hopefully we're hoping to do some video instruction where you're going to go get a lesson on that. We'll record it, and hopefully some other people can benefit from it too.
Yeah, can't wait.
Yeah. So that's everything we have for you guys this week. You can get to the show notes by going to golficity.com/episode 341. And of course, download the Golficity app. It's available for iOS and Android. You can get all of the golf podcast episodes there, all the way dating back to the very first one. But let us know what you think. Like I said, we love to be able to discuss these further. There's so much more than we can cover in a half-hour episode. So make sure you post your comments in the Facebook group, send them to us, tweet at us. There's a lot of ways to get in touch with us. And we'll see everybody again next week.